Welcome to the Day Report, Stage 2, where we're racing the USA Pro Challenge from Steamboat Springs up to Arapahoe Basin.
Inside Team United Healthcare's car, there's 12 riders currently in the breakaway with a United Healthcare rider, Danny Summerhill, in a great position for us today. Moving along at a good speed, averaging about 41 kilometers per hour.
So as the stage unfolds, we're going to try to get Danny Summerhill's stage file from his Pioneer Power Meter later on. Danny had to go across the move. He went up the first climb, Rabbit Ears Pass, which is a Category 2 climb, to protect the KOM jersey of Johnny Clark and potentially have a crack at it himself. The final climb is the climb up to Arapahoe Basin, which is a first-time finish for the USA Pro Challenge, 7 kilometres long and climbs up to nearly 11,000 feet of altitude, so it's going to be a pretty tough one. The stage has just finished and we're up here at Arapahoe Basin at an altitude of over 10,800 feet. The riders put on a spectacular show and they were greeted by an amazing crowd as they were supported all the way up to the finish line. United Healthcare's Johnny Clark, the rider that we featured in yesterday's story, managed to ride excellently again today and finished in the top 5, we believe. We'll confirm that later. We'll also try to grab Danny Summerhill's Pioneer Power Meter file and we'll analyse his day that he had out there on the breakaway today. So post stage 2, we're up in Copper Mountain where the stage 3 is going to start tomorrow morning. I'm here with Danny Summerhill, who was in the break today. We're standing right next to this fiery ball of hell.
When you're this high up, it makes such a difference than when you're racing California or at sea level for that matter, because you can't recover, there is no oxygen, and plain simply, you just can't breathe.
So that's a very good point about the altitude. It makes it such a hard element to be racing up here. So we should just fast forward to today's stage, stage 2. You're in the breakaway pretty much right from the firing gun, right?
Yeah, I scared the commissaires a little bit because I was rolling up the back of them at the kilometer zero sign. They weren't sure yet if they wanted to actually drop the green flag. But just when I racing in Colorado, I get this extra at least 10% motivation to just do as best as I can. And my plan was to make the breakaway, and I made it. But yeah, it was full gas from the start, like kilometer zero. So,
what was the plan? It is pretty hot here. We're going to move a little bit closer to the camera. What was the plan once you're up there? Like, what was the role for you today out the front?
I did. It was really, we were waiting to see how it was going to shake out because Carson Miller from the day earlier got a couple points, so I knew he'd be going for the KOM. And before the race started, I wanted to get the KOM jersey, and it was a matter of who else was firing to get a few extra points today, which obviously Will Routley was. But that was the game plan, keep the pressure off of our boys so that Yanni and Johnny could have a smooth sail into a basin. Monitoring and gauging your efforts this high up is crucial. You could do 10 times more at sea level, but here you have to be so much more conscientious of all that data. Like you said, heart rate. If your heart rate is 2 beats higher here than it would be at sea level, that's the difference between going into the red and not being able to come back and just blowing sky high, or making the group.
So you've got your Pioneer Cycle computer in front of you on your bike. You've got a lot of information there that you can access. Are you looking at any of those numbers when you're out there racing, or using instinct and feel?
Some days I'll be staring at my Pioneer head unit just for hours on end because those numbers are what's keeping me alive. Other days I go totally by feel.
Thanks for your time, Danny.
Thank you.
Awesome ride today. Keep giving it up for the team. Good work.
Appreciate it.
So we have just finished catching up with Danny Summerhill, where he explained today his sensations throughout the race, which is always a very important piece of the puzzle. That qualitative experience from the athlete out there is a very necessary part of putting all this together. So he's given us access to his Pioneer Power file, and here we're going to delve in deeper and analyse it. We have downloaded Danny's power file from the Pioneer Cyclosphere site down to Training Peaks WKO, where we're going to analyse his file in greater detail. The first thing I'm going to look for is where he was establishing the first breakaway of the day, and you can see that was very early on the stage. As he mentioned before in our little conversation, it was pretty much as soon as the gun dropped, as soon as he pressed start on his computer, you can see him attacking, and that was the initiation of the break. From there, the first part of the race was this valley leading up to the Rabbit Ears climb, which was a Category 2 climb out of Steamboat Springs. Pretty long climb, this one, and all the riders were pretty nervous about this before the start this morning, so we saw a lot of riders on their trainers warming up just to make sure that they had the bullets to go out of the gate. Rabbit Ears Pass was 34 minutes long. During this time, Danny averaged 351 watts, and he was climbing up to an altitude of 9,300 feet, which is quite amazing thinking about the fact that he's really going to be losing about 10% of his physiological capacities at those altitudes. From that climb, as he was saying, his role was to be up there and defending the KOM jersey that Johnny Clark took on stage 1. So at the end of that long 34-minute period, he attacked in order to try to make the first place over the KOM points, and this was 679 watts for a total of 1 minute and 13 seconds. So a really difficult effort at the end of that long climb. Didn't quite make it. He was second at that KOM, beaten by Will Routley, who was sprinting very well today for these KOMs. So from there, the break just kept rolling. Going into the second KOM of the day, Danny knew what his job was. And we'll scroll down and have a look at that and highlight that there for a second. So coming into the second KOM, it was a little bit rolly coming into that, as we can see with our elevation profiles here. And as we're looking at the yellow line, he averaged 3.5 minutes at 394 watts just in the lead up to this second KOM before the sprint for that line actually started. Once again, he was beaten into second place, but he tried, he had a go at it, and he did 23 seconds at 684 watts. Finally, something else to look at for today's stage, and we'll just zoom out a little bit. So the final thing I want to look at here in Danny's file is the entire day, basically. As we spoke about, he was in the breakaway pretty much from the first kilometre of the day. They got caught about 15 kilometres from the line, so this was a total of 4 hours, and during that time he averaged over 305 watts, which is a pretty impressive effort. This equated to 4,500 kilojoules on the day, so Danny had a big day out there and put a big effort in for his team, and I'm sure they appreciated it. And it's great to see that Johnny Clark, who we featured yesterday, had a great finish and finished 4th on today's stage, and is looking good for a great overall position later on this week.